In a dusty, sun-scorched village square, where the air hung heavy with desperation, a father stood on a rickety wooden platform, his face etched with shame and sorrow, auctioning his 3 daughters to the highest bidder. The crowd murmured, some with pity, others with greed, as the girls Lila, Mara, and little Elise clung to each other, their eyes wide with fear, tears streaking their dirt-smudged cheeks. Jacob Tanner, a weathered farmer with a heart as vast as the fields he tended, pushed through the throng, his chest tightening at the sight. He couldn't stand by. With a trembling voice, he shouted an offer, everything he had, silencing the crowd. That day, he took the sisters home, and in time, he would see them married to his sons, weaving a family from the threads of brokenness. But the road to that future was fraught with trials, and Jacob's choice would test the limits of love, trust, and redemption. Jacob had never been a man of wealth, but he was rich in grit and goodness. A widower, he'd raised his 3 sons Eli, Caleb, and Noah on a modest farm at the edge of the prairie, teaching them to value hard work and kindness above all. The day of the auction, he'd only meant to buy seed in town, but the sight of the sisters Lila, 18, fierce and protective, Mara, 16, quiet and haunted, and Elise, just 10, clinging to her sister's hands, shattered his heart. Their father, a broken man named Silas, had lost everything to drought and debt. With no food, no hope, he'd turned to this desperate act, believing it was the only way to save his girls from starvation. Jacob's bid wasn't born of strategy but of instinct. He handed over his savings, every last coin, and led the trembling sisters to his wagon, promising them safety. The journey home was quiet, the girls huddled together, eyeing Jacob with suspicion. Lila, the eldest, was sharp-tongued, her dark eyes blazing. "Why'd you buy us? What do you want?" she demanded, her voice a mix of defiance and dread. Jacob, hands steady on the reins, replied softly, "I want you to be safe, to have a home. I've got sons, good boys, and a farm that needs hands. You'll be family, not property." Mara, the middle sister, said nothing, her gaze fixed on the horizon, while Elise whimpered, clutching Lila's arm. Jacob's heart ached, he knew trust wouldn't come easy. At the farm, Jacob's sons were stunned. Eli, 20, the eldest, was strong and steady, a man of few words but deep loyalty. Caleb, 18, was quick-witted and warm, always ready with a laugh. Noah, 16, was gentle, a dreamer who loved carving wood into tiny figures. They welcomed the girls with awkward kindness, but tensions simmered. Lila clashed with Eli, her anger a shield against the world. "You think we're charity cases?" she snapped one evening, shoving a broom back into his hands after he offered to help with chores. Mara, silent and withdrawn, flinched at every loud noise, haunted by memories of hunger and her father's despair. Elise, the youngest, shadowed Noah, her wide eyes following his every move, but she cried at night, missing her father despite his failings. The first challenge came swiftly, acceptance. The townsfolk whispered, calling Jacob a fool or worse, a man with ulterior motives. Buying girls like cattle, they sneered, and the gossip stung. Lila overheard and lashed out, refusing to work the fields, convinced Jacob would tire of them and sell them off again. Jacob sat her down one night, his voice calm but firm. "I've lost a wife, raised 3 boys alone. I know pain, Lila. I'm not your father, but I'll fight for you like you're my own." Slowly, her walls began to crack, and she started tending the garden, her hands finding purpose in the soil. The second hurdle was deeper, trust. Mara's silence worried Jacob. She'd vanish for hours, hiding in the barn, her thin frame shaking as she whispered to herself. Caleb, ever patient, began leaving bowls of stew or a warm blanket near her hiding spot, never pushing. One stormy night, when thunder roared, Mara bolted from the barn, panicked. Caleb found her, soaked and trembling, and sat with her under a tree, telling silly stories until she laughed, a small, broken sound, but a start. Over weeks, she spoke more, revealing her fear that love always came with a price. Caleb's gentle persistence showed her otherwise. Elise's challenge was grief. She'd sob for Silas, her little heart torn between love and betrayal. Noah, with his quiet warmth, carved her a tiny wooden bird, saying, "This is yours to keep, like we're yours to keep." Elise clung to it, and slowly, she began to smile, helping Noah feed the chickens, her laughter a rare gift. But the farm itself tested them all. A brutal summer drought withered crops, echoing the ruin that had broken Silas. Jacob's savings were gone, and the family faced hunger. The boys and girls worked side by side, digging trenches to save water, their hands blistered, their spirits fraying. Lila, once defiant, rallied them, shouting, "We're not losing this." Her fire sparked hope, and they fought together, saving enough to survive. Time softened the edges. Months turned to years, and bonds grew. Lila and Eli, once at odds, found common ground in their strength, their arguments turning to late-night talks by the fire. One evening, Eli carved a bench for the garden, and Lila, blushing, thanked him, a spark of something new. Mara and Caleb grew close, his humor coaxing her from her shell. He'd tease her into dancing in the kitchen, her laughter a melody. Noah and Elise, already a pair, became inseparable, his gentle spirit her anchor. But doubt lingered. When word came that Silas had died, alone and broken, the sisters wept, guilt and loss tearing at them. Jacob held them, saying, "He loved you, in his flawed way. You're allowed to love him back and still build a new life." Years later, Jacob faced his own trial, age and a weakening heart. He confided in his sons, asking them to care for the girls always. The boys, now men, had grown to love the sisters deeply. One spring day, with Jacob's blessing, Eli proposed to Lila, their shared strength a foundation. Caleb, with a grin, asked Mara, her quiet trust his reward. Noah, shyly, promised Elise he'd wait until she was grown, and she giggled, already dreaming of a future. The weddings were simple wildflowers, homemade vows, and tears of joy, Jacob beaming, his heart full despite its frailty. The final challenge was letting go. Jacob's health faded, and one evening, as the sun dipped low, he gathered them all. "I saw you, 3 sisters, lost and scared, and I brought you home. You've made this family whole. Love each other, fight for each other." He passed that night, peaceful, surrounded by his children. They buried him under the oak he loved, grief heavy but gratitude heavier. The sisters and brothers rebuilt, their farm thriving, their bond unbreakable. In the end, the family stood stronger, a testament to resilience. Lila, Mara, and Elise, once auctioned in despair, found home, love, and purpose. The sons, shaped by their father's heart, carried his legacy. Their story, born from a single act of compassion, whispered a truth: even in the darkest moments, love can redeem, rebuild, and endure. And as the sun set over the prairie, their laughter rang out, a beacon of hope for anyone lost, proving that family isn't just born, it's made.